Welcome back. Welcome to the hashtag Laser 3 discussion. We are now moving on to the Nintendo digital event. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty, what do you think were the motives behind not throwing a live press conference? Because I think I know the answer to this.
There's a few motives I can think of. I think the one that I would most likely put forth is that Nintendo views themselves as being different than the other companies. That they are not... That they are a cute, cuddly, image-controlled...
They're a toy maker.
They are more...
They're not a game company.
They're more intimate than the other companies.
To bring back something we discussed in a previous podcast, we started talking about Disney and how Disney wants to own pieces of culture to charge rent for.
Yes.
Whenever I discuss Nintendo, the first company I compared them to is Disney.
Yes. It's very apt.
And mostly because, like Disney, Nintendo likes to have complete and utter control of its image, and it's obsessed with its image. I would say, and I believe the main reason why they did a digital event was because of some of the problems it had at the last E3 especially regarding Skyward Sword, and or maybe it wasn't the last E3, maybe the E3 before. But I don't know if you remember, but during the public demonstration of Skyward Sword, there were troubles with the motion controls because of, obviously because in that sort of building with that many electronics going off, and who knows how far away they were from the receivers and stuff like that. Yeah. It's not going to work as smoothly as it would in a controlled environment.
Right.
So even though this year there weren't that many games that would require that sort of thing, since we're moving away from motion controls in general,
thank goodness.
It's just the technology was never there.
It wasn't there yet.
It was, like I don't think that it was like the faux pas that everybody else seems to think. Like I don't mind Skyward Sword's motion controls.
Yeah, it wasn't the end of the world. It was just really annoying when I played Galaxy 2 that if I wanted to get that spin jump, I had to do this thing.
The thing?
Yeah, over and over. Mm. And I just, after 2 hours, I'm like, okay, can I stop doing this now?
See, I get you. I get where that comes from. I acknowledge that. It never bothered me. People complained about having trouble playing Skyward Sword because of stuff like that, and I never had that issue. Anyway, let's get started. The first thing Nintendo talked about was Super Smash Bros. Specifically, it announced that Mii's would be playable and to an extent customizable.
Yeah, to me, the announcement, if I had to summarize the announcement, I would just say there are 3 new characters. Mm-hmm. They can be skinned differently.
Yeah.
And you can customize their B attacks.
Well, that's true of all the characters now, though. All the characters have 12 selectable new moves.
All of the characters?
Everybody.
Mario?
Yeah.
Oh. Really?
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a thing with this new Smash Brothers is that they have customizable moves.
Okay.
Movesets.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, and so that's why we were having... I think that was the main reason why they separated Zelda and Sheik, for example, and Zero Suit Samus and regular Samus.
Okay.
Was that so they could continue to have the...
Sure.
Yeah, after this, I'll show you an example.
Yeah.
But the 3 Mii characters will also have, along with the rest of the... You basically have a sword Mii, a kung fu Mii, and a gun Mii.
Right.
The other thing that was announced was Palutena, who was a Kid Icarus character.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Kid Icarus fans, but I'm pretty sure has only been seen in-game recently. I think she was an element of the original Kid Icarus games, but I don't think she was represented in the 8-bit era.
Okay.
I think she was mentioned, like, if you read the shit.
Yeah,
But I think recently, as of Kid Icarus Uprising, it was the first time we were actually introduced to the character of Palutena. She was also in Brawl. She's the final smash for Pit in Brawl.
Okay.
But the main thing I want to talk about in regards to the Palutena announcement was the announcement trailer, which was animated.
Yeah, that's right, it's anime. Anime.
Yeah, and it was just Link beating the shit out of Pit, and it was awesome. It is like Link, of course, never speaks, but he gives Pit the boot, and all I could think of get wrecked, nerd.
Yeah.
Like it was so awesome. Do you think though? Because for Brawl they did character announcements with in-game cinematic sort of things, and the game ended up having those in-game cinematics. Do you think that Smash Bros will have more anime cutscenes, or is this just a thing for Palutena?
I'm inclined to believe the latter. However, I do not deny the possibility that they could slip in some anime.
Do you? This kind of goes into something we're going to discuss more when we get to the other Zelda things. But is it interesting? It's interesting to me that this is the first time Nintendo, because obviously this wasn't animated in house. You know, that means Nintendo reached out to another company and said, "Here are our characters. Do stuff." You know. Which is kind of the theme of this E3 in a lot of ways. That Nintendo is loosening its iron grip on some of its properties. Not entirely. Not to, you know, but it's happening.
A little bit, yeah.
To sort of. I'm trying to think of. Okay, so the Smash Invitational happened.
Did you watch that?
Yes, it did.
I did watch that. Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I know there are lots of people who are upset that this Smash Brothers is not going to be Melee.
Yeah, I mean, I've been reading, you know, the general complaints, specific complaints. I don't know. It's as someone who has never played Smash Brothers competitively, it is difficult. I don't know. I want to say it's difficult for me to care because I played Brawl a lot at college.
I like Brawl.
I had fun.
Yeah, I like.
But I played Melee with people too at college. I had fun. You know.
I mean, okay.
It's difficult for me to sympathize with people who want a game that was super competitive by accident.
Yeah. Yes, that is probably my main thing. Is like I don't acknowledge that Smash needs to be like a fringe game, which is what competitive games are.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to say it, but like, right now, a actual hardcore competitive game caters to like a really small percentage of gaming in general. And one of the nice things about Smash Brothers is that I can go home and play Smash Brothers with my brother, and have a competitive experience. Whereas if I fired up Street Fighter 4 or Marvel vs. Capcom 3, it couldn't be done. You know,
it just couldn't be.
No,
it's such a high cost of entry.
So I'm sorry, Smash community in the FGC. You know, like
I respect your community, and I wish you all the best.
Yeah,
but it's difficult for me to see this game being manipulated to accommodate your concerns.
There'll be a Project M at some point. And you know, I'm not gonna say that I'm not gonna play that, but like I am happy with a portable Smash Brothers and the Wii U Smash Brothers eventually. Like the 3DS is full of so many good games already, and like it's great to see more coming out. Do we want to talk about Amiibo?
Not really.
I don't have much to say.
Generally, just kind of personal opinions. I have sort of negative opinions about collectible toys.
Sure.
And so I would be sort of down on it, but I think that's mostly personal preference. I don't get collectibles. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah, it's so for you. So you don't have any personal. You don't feel like personally offended at the concept, or like
no. It
just has no appeal for you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone said the obvious thing, which is that
Skylanders
it's directly descended from Skylanders.
Yes.
And also, you know, kind of like from Webkins too, kind of thing.
I mean, for me, my brain goes to Duel Monsters, so it's just like Duel Monsters.
Just like Duel Monsters.
You know, like it's you put your thing on the holographic thing, and it makes these things were made by Seto Kaiba, as far as I'm concerned. And that's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
I like, you know, I all power to collectibles people. I can't do it. I would like I like things that perform a function more than just like stand there and look cool. I'm not saying that, you know, I would never get a statue that I thought was cool. Like, we have a friend, Heaton My Horrible, his father collects Marvel statues, which are unbelievably cool, but also about $300 a piece.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and for
like,
something that doesn't do anything but take up space in your home.
It's like nerd nutcrackers.
Yeah, I don't know. They're awesome. I love them.
They look great.
Yeah.
But
I could not do it.
Could not spend the money on them. Could not spend the money to house them.
Either.
Yes, either of them. I would
Either.
not. Yeah.
I would look over at them and think I could have bought like 30 burritos.
Yeah.
With that amount of money.
At least.
So yeah, we're gonna move on from Amiibo. Yoshi's Woolly World. Your thoughts?
So, this is obviously a lot of people again remarked it is similar to Kirby's.
Yep.
Something.
Kirby's yarn something.
Yeah, yarn something. And but also it looks to me like it is very much in the style of Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island.
Yes, Yoshi's Island.
Gameplay.
One of the best platformers ever made.
Yeah, no, and I have a lot of respect for people who love that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm just kind of curious where it's going to come down because the yarn game, the Kirby's yarn game was
Kirby's Epic Yarn. That's what it's
Epic
called.
Yarn was notorious for being super easy and having no consequences for your actions.
Yes.
Whereas I feel
it is a cool game though.
Whereas I feel Yoshi's Island is a
game about consequences.
It's a game of beauty and precision and consequences.
Yes.
So I really don't know what to expect and where it's going to come down. I mean, it certainly looked pretty, but personally, my expected engagement with this game is that I would be seeing it in the context of speedrunning as a viewer.
Yes.
It's a 2D platformer.
Right.
I generally do not like 2D platformers. Right. It's a 2D platformer on a console.
Right.
Which really means I'm not going to play it.
Right. Okay, so generally I agree with all the things you said. I am interested in it visually, but 2D platformers, I'm not, like, I've had my fill. Like, I'm full. Thank you. Please, sir, can I have something else? But looks cool. Looks interesting at the very least.
Cute.
Speaking of cute, but I have not much to say about Toad Treasure Tracker.
God bless Toad.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so here we have the big one. Zelda 2015.
I mean, I don't really have
You
much...
go first.
Yeah, okay, so we'll give short backgrounds. My background on Zelda is very short.
Yes.
The most I ever played in a Zelda game was... It's either Link's Awakening original on Game Boy or Ocarina of Time. I'm not really sure which I made it farther in.
Right. Neither you finished.
A few dungeons into Link's Awakening. Made it to Shadow Temple as young Link in Ocarina of Time.
Oh, so Under the Well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And generally, I mean, Link's Awakening I played as a child, so I was a child and I was an idiot.
Right.
I don't know why I stopped playing then.
Right.
Ocarina of Time is a game that I have attempted the GameCube version of several times because I've heard it's very well regarded. And
to say the least.
And it's a game that I find myself not interested in the narrative as it's presented in the game. I feel like when I read things about it or listen to the music by itself, I can find the Zelda mythos kind of inspiring, but the way it's presented in Ocarina of Time is not interesting to me.
Sure.
The gameplay, the temples within themselves, are very well designed and enjoyable. I did not have problems with Water Temple like I heard about people having problems with Water Temple.
Right.
Everything outside of the temples drives me up a wall.
Okay.
I don't. The sequences don't make any sense. I don't understand why you have to go chase the crazy old ghost to get the hook shot, or how you're supposed to learn that you need to do that, or you get from place A to place B, and it never holds my interest long enough to complete. And I've never really played any other Zelda game. Although if you were to put a gun to my head and said play a Zelda game, I would probably play Wind Waker because it looks cool.
Yes. Okay. So my history with Zelda is long one because it was the very first game I ever played.
Which Zelda? The original. Oh, the original.
The original.
Okay.
Back in the when I was young, the only console we had was an NES. And one of the only we had Mario won in Duck Hunt, obviously, and the other game we had was Legend of Zelda. And I could not beat Legend of Zelda at that age, the first one. The first one is one of the most notoriously difficult and cryptic games ever made. Like, you can't... A regular person could not pick up that game and just be able to beat it on their own without any outside help. They would get lost and like, not know how to continue the game. There aren't sequences per se, but there are parts of the game that you can't get past until you do other things.
Yeah.
And from then on, it was history. I've played every single one. I've gone on record of being deeply fanatic.
What about the CDI Zeldas?
I've played those too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I can't. Yeah, surprise, motherfucker. I've played those two. I've hated them. Okay. But I mean, there's not much, Ocarina of Time is my favorite game of all time. I could say that with definitive. I think it's brilliant. I think it's the most perfect third person. Like, it's the archetypal third person action game. Like, it defined what third person action was going to be for the next, And I'm gonna go on record as saying I prefer. As a general rule, I like the 3D Zeldas more than I like the 2D ones, which is an unpopular thought process right now. I loved Skyward Sword. I fucking loved it. I thought it was brilliant. A lot of people hate it because of its ad hoc sort of attitude towards the timeline, and how Nintendo wants to chisel in stone what the quote-unquote timeline is. I don't care about all that stuff. Fiction is fiction.
Yes.
People care way too much about canon.
Yeah.
These days.
Yo, canon is dead. You're all free now.
Yeah, exactly. You are all free now. The author is dead. Also.
Yes.
Anyway, Zelda 2015. Two things for me to say up front. Gorgeous, obviously. If what we were shown is anything, the style looks amazing. The main thing that that Iwata was talking about was how they wanted to go back to the original Zelda's sort of attitude towards dropping you in a place and just saying, do whatever. So we're talking about open world. I don't know why he didn't use that phrase. It probably because Nintendo, they don't want to be a game company. But
I was just thinking, this is a brief aside, and you can continue in a moment. I believe at least 5 times throughout different conferences, people said you can walk to those mountains in the distance.
Oh yeah, totally. Witcher 3 and yeah. So anyway, you could probably tell by now based off of what we play on #LaserTaser and what some of the comments I made during some of the other press conference overviews. I like linear games. I like games that go from point A to point B. I like narratives. I like, I don't need the game to cater to me necessarily. Like, I am open to what the game can offer, and with Zelda, I've never played, other than the CDI games, a Zelda game that I didn't like for whatever reason. They basically all go on a descending, a scale for me of, goodness. It's like Miyazaki films. Like throw a fucking dart, and you'll hit a good Miyazaki film because they're all good.
I should watch a Miyazaki film.
Yes, you should. Having said all those things, I'm worried about this next one.
Oh yeah.
Because Link Between Worlds was the most recent Zelda game,
yes.
And it attempted to break away from the quote-unquote Zelda formula.
Okay.
And it did this by removing the prerequisite of doing the dungeons in a specific order.
Okay.
And they did this by making all the items available at a shop. And you go and you pay a certain amount of money, in-game currency, to rent the item, and you can eventually buy it. And so you can choose to do all the things in whatever order you want to do, and all that stuff. And when I heard about this, I was deeply concerned, because I really feel like open world games have a problem with cohesion, and this sort of, and Link Between Worlds was not open world. It was Link to the Past style, isometric, top down, big square map.
Yeah.
And it was cohesive. Link Between Worlds was a good game. I didn't love it as much as everybody else did, but it was good. So I'm not saying that they can't do this. And Wind Waker was very close to this. Like, a lot of people write off Wind Waker as far as its, like, openness, but it was a huge game. And there's no transitions between any of the places that you're going to. Like, you can just go in a direction, and you'll just go, you know, until you hit the edge of the map, in which case you'll come around to the other side, like, you know. So, I mean, you know, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to talk about. Possible future setting. You know, there is a robot and a zappy bomb arrow. This is little things that wouldn't mean anything to you, but the Link that we see, or the character we see, I should say, since there is confusion now about whether or not that is definitely Link or definitely not, because Iwata made that joke, apparently, about we never said it was Link, and then later was clarified to say, like, I was making a joke. Please don't literally take everything I say. That character is wearing an outfit that is similar to Link's lobster pajamas in Wind Waker. And the armbands he's wearing are very similar in design to some things that Ganondorf wears in Ocarina of Time. So with the cloak and those things, there's a possibility that this Link or character might be from a desert setting rather than, like, you know, Hyrule, which would kind of maybe lead into a cool, like, exploring the land of Hyrule sort of thing, because I'm from the desert. But, you know, right now we don't know anything. Yeah, we just know that it's going to be open world, they say, and it's got weirdo robots and weirdo explodey arrows. And Link's got a ponytail, if that is Link. But yeah, I'm excited because Zelda. Yeah. But, you know, not much to say. So next is Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Which is the remakes of Ruby and Sapphire.
It's Generation
3.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Once every 6 or 7 years, I'll get Pokemon Fever and play a Pokemon game. Mm-hmm. And by play a Pokemon game, my definition of playing a Pokemon game is beating the 8 gyms, beating the Final 4 and the champion, and going home. And then okay, so actually, I should clarify. I mean, the only 2 games I've really beaten are Blue and Pearl. In Pearl, I did go to the top of the mountain after beating the champion and got whatever legendary that eats space and time.
Dialga or Palkia.
Dialga. It was Dialga.
Okay. Well, if it was Pearl, it was Palkia, but
Palkia.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. So, being the Pokedex, I do have.
You have an opinion?
Yeah. I do have an affinity for Pokemon. But this is scandalous too. I don't really like Gen 3. I'm not a big...
I thought that was the case.
Yeah, I don't really like Gen 3 that much. Not a big Gen 3 fan. There's not that many Pokemon in Gen 3 that I like. Like, there's Absol. I like Absol. And, like, that's off the top of my head. This is a weird complaint to make about Pokemon. I don't really like the story in Ruby and Sapphire with Team Magma and Team Aqua. I don't really care. They introduced some things that I'm interested to see in a 3DS. You know, I wonder how much of the X and Y things are going to carry over. The main reason I give a shit about this is because a new Pokemon game is kind of like a patch on the competitive scene. I dabble in competitive Pokemon, which includes IV training, EV training, and breeding, and that sort of thing, which they made much easier as of this latest generation. So what's cool about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, if that's what they're called,
I think that's what they're called.
Yeah, is that it's going to mean a basically new patch, and it's going to mean changes to some Pokemon things. Like I don't who knows to what extent, because it's basically random. But Heart Gold and Soul Silver introduced some new things, and so I'm excited, but not as much as I was for X and Y. Not as much hype as there was for X and Y. Speaking of hype, we are now, unless you have something to add about Pokemon.
No, I expect it to be several years before I have another craving to play a Pokemon game.
Sure, yeah.
I think it is far more likely that I would play X or Y or an X or Y successor than it is to revisit our generation remake.
Right.
Because I briefly looked at someone's, they had a 2DS. poor creature.
Yeah.
While they were playing Pokemon X, and it looked real neat. It looked like a real update.
Yes.
So I think whenever I'm ready to play Pokemon again, I'm gonna want to play a game like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I see where you're coming from there. But next, anyway, we've got Bayonetta 2. We touched on this a little bit when we spoke about Platinum.
I'll reiterate my earlier statement about Platinum games. I played Bayonetta, beat it on normal, and I will probably never play another Platinum Games game for the rest of my life.
Okay. I love Platinum games. I'm really interested in Scalebound. I love Hideki Kamiya. I loved Bayonetta 2. It was one of my favorite games of the year when it came out, and it was one of the first games to come out. It's a wonderful gameplay experience. There are things that I love about it and things that I don't love about it. It is an action game starring a female character, so that's something. I was kind of hoping she would make it into Smash Brothers. It wouldn't be the first time a rated M character was in Smash Brothers. Snake has paved the way for that. But what's was rated M about Snake is not what's rated M about Bayonetta.
Sure. That Princess Peach costume is nightmare fuel.
Yes, it is. I don't love the Nintendo costumes. The only one I like is the Link one, which I think looks fine.
Looks fine.
But the Samus and Peach ones are The Samus one is and the Peach one is like yee. Yeah, exactly. But it's cool that when you buy Bayonetta 2, you get Bayonetta 1. That's cool.
Okay, that's
More
cool.
games should be like that, really.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't see much. I liked what I saw of Bayonetta 2, but it also does just... It doesn't look different from Bayonetta 1.
It looks like Bayonetta 2.
Which is fine.
Fine. If you like Bayonetta.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, here we go again. We've got another big one. Hyrule Warriors.
If you talked to me, if I had to get a Wii U for some reason, like it was threatened, you're gonna kill me or bankrupt me.
Sure.
This would be the game that I would probably play.
Yeah. Okay. So, we both gone over our Zelda history, so why don't we go over Dynasty Warriors?
Dynasty Warriors history. This is actually funny because the day before this recording, I impulse bought Dynasty Warriors 8 on Steam.
Excellent.
Because it has been years since I played Dynasty Warriors 2. Dynasty Warriors 2 was probably the second game I played on PlayStation 2. I played a ton of Dynasty Warriors 2. Later owned Dynasty Warriors 3 and 4. Played a lot of those as well, but not as much. They're mindless games. They're not exactly games that changed a lot or evolved, but they are a ton of fun. And both they're games that do two things that I like: killing people, and then also giving you a chance to sort of invent your own narrative within the scope of a game, because you'll get locked in those epic battles where the tide is flowing against you and you have to turn the tide somehow.
Yes.
And that's just cool. Like,
yes.
I just like turning the tide of a battle by myself.
Yes.
By sheer force of will.
Yes.
So that's just awesome. I like it, and I just had a hankering to do it again. So the idea that they would give you that sort of chance with the Zelda IP, I think it sounds pretty neat.
Yeah. So to add to that, I've also played Dynasty Warriors 2 through 4. In addition to that, I've also played some of the Dynasty Warriors spin-off games, like Dynasty Warriors Gundam, which I think is a lot of fun, and Dynasty Warriors One Piece, which is not what it's called, but that's what I'm going to call it because that's what it is, which is also a lot of fun. Like, those are... Dynasty Warriors is one of the most perfect games to attach to a shonen, actually, because they really cater to the idea of one powerful person against a horde of enemies, And that's a scenario that happens a lot in, for example, One Piece, and in Gundam that's easy to justify, you know, with mass-produced mechs of all sorts.
HTLT.
Yeah, exactly. Having said that, this to me is interesting because this will be the first Zelda game that is entirely combat focused. This will be, and that makes I'm so excited. I can't even. When I heard about the concept, I was excited, and the main thing that excited me was like this means there's going to be a ton of playable characters, because that just comes with Dynasty Warriors. Like, that's just what that means. It's tons of characters. And Lu Bu, who by the way you should not pursue. I'm
sorry. Like, okay, quick aside here. We might even edit this out.
Mm-hmm.
When you play Dynasty Warriors 2 through 4,
mm-hmm.
Did you abuse all of the really stupid ways to kill Lu Bu?
I can actually think of a long time ago when I was shown a way you can do that, but I never did it myself.
In those games, there was always some heinously stupid way to kill Lu Bu.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right. So
continue.
So the big thing, like I said, main thing I was excited about was the prospect of characters, and I was thinking, like, one of the ways they could go about it is this would be a perfect way to have a game where you could play as every iteration of Link. This is a perfect game for that, because people who are not interested or maybe not familiar with Legend of Zelda as a series may not know that the character you play as in each specific game is rarely the same Link. There are a couple of times where that's the case.
It's like Wind Waker to Spirit Tracks, and then Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask.
It's Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask and Wind Waker to Phantom Hourglass. Spirit Tracks takes place a couple hundred years after Phantom Hourglass. And this is while each Link is a silent protagonist, the 3D Zeldas each have their own quirks, I would say. I could pretty easily describe to you the 3D Zelda Link characters. And that was one way I thought they were going to go. Another thing that I thought they were going to do, which is what they ended up doing, was including the side characters, some of the less, the side characters as playable. First they introduced Impa, which I was so excited for. I was so happy that Impa was going to be playable, and kind of based off of her Skyward Sword design, because I love her Skyward Sword design. It's excellent. And then at the C3 they announced Midna and Zelda, which is like printing money. Like, I can't even so Zelda is less so. There's kind of some fan politics going on with Zelda's announcement as a playable character, but it's not worth talking about here. But including Midna as playable is printing money. There's not a single character that the fans enjoy more in the Zelda series that isn't Link or Zelda, or possibly Saria or Malon, than Midna. Midna is the most successful sidekick character in the Legend of Zelda series by far. Mostly because she's a snarky son of a bitch, and is written really well, has a really compelling character, and does have a sexy transformation. But mostly people love Midna the character. And it's a total surprise because this is not... This is... At no point has this been hinted at the Twilight Princess Zelda continuity. I mean, obviously Dynasty Warriors generally has a loose plot,
right,
and loose reasoning for why these people are together and like nearby and all that, and interacting and all that sort of stuff. But if they attempt to go there, I'd be interested to see what the deal is.
What sort of narratives they carve out to justify these things.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's pretty much. I mean, it looks fun. It looks like Dynasty Warriors with Zelda characters, which, over at pre-recorded, they described this as a filler game, they compared it to Link's Crossbow Training, which is totally inapt. Link's Crossbow Training was a demo for a Wii add-on that never got used for anything else ever again. It was not a game, even a little bit. This is going to be a game. This is going to have unlockables. This is going to have, boss fights. They hinted at Ganondorf in this most recent trailer, I guess. I don't know if that needed a hint, but, fair enough, whatever. One of the things that I think is interesting about this game is the design. Have you seen much of...
I saw a little bit. I saw what was during the conference.
Did you see the main antagonist, the female main antagonist?
I don't think so. I
would describe her design as boobylicious. It is very scantily clad for a Zelda game.
Okay.
Zelda does not go there.
Well, I mean, the fairy in the fountain.
Okay, Great Fairy Fountain is the exception. Zelda does go there for the Great Fairy Fountain. In fact, you see that character in this latest trailer, the Great Fairy Fountain.
Yeah.
Or the Ocarina of Time design for the Great Fairy Fountain. But still, even Zelda's, which, by the way, I love Zelda's design in this game, and I love the way it looks like she plays. She reminds me a lot of Twilight Princess Zelda. Zelda has a lot of cleavage showing, which is fine. It's not that big a deal. There's nothing wrong with scantily clad characters. What's wrong with scantily clad characters is not that they are scantily clad. It's that they are designed by men to be objects. But a whole other discussion. It's more than Zelda tends to be. It's a lot less. And I mean, the obvious answer to this is that Team Ninja is developing this game. The nice thing though is that this is more in Team Ninja's safety.
Yeah. Like
they know how to make Dynasty Warrior games, Yep. So this is not going to be a Metroid Other M situation.
They've made a few of them.
Yeah, just a few. I can't speak for how accurate Dynasty Warriors is as far as
history.
The Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
I mean, obviously, the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, the fictional work itself, is already an embellishment of many things that happened, and naturally, since historically, the Way Kingdom has some advisors, and they basically hijack everything at the end. So none of the three kingdoms, their lineage actually goes on to win.
Right.
The Shu lineage never really goes anywhere. The Wu lineage just kind of gets dominated after Shu goes away, and then Wei crumbles and becomes the actual dynasty that then goes on to rule China.
Right.
So really, I would describe it the way they do the Dynasty Warriors plots as they connect famous historical elements in battles. And for each character, they just have a sequence of them that they connect.
Sure.
And I imagine, that might be something similar they would do for Hyrule Warriors.
Well, what I was leading into was I think that Dynasty Warriors lends itself better to fiction. I mean, obviously. And technically that is fiction because it's dealing with a fictional account of some historical events. Yeah. But anyway, not that important in the long run. Excited for Hyrule Warriors. Can't wait to play it. Next up on the list is Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, which was the Kirby game with the claymation sort of design.
The stylus thing?
Yeah. Looks like Kirby game.
Looks like 2D platform Kirby game that I'll never play.
Yeah, I mean, not much to say. It looks creative. I like the design.
Yeah.
Not much to say otherwise. Here we go. Next up on our list is Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Yo, that X!
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that.
Oh my god.
Are you serious? I said when I saw that X. I was like, X is not confirmed.
X is not confirmed.
Okay, so...
But X is confirmed, though.
So, as you know, we at #LaserTaser are currently doing a playthrough of Xenogears. And Xenogears has a tangential connection to Xenoblade. Despite the similar sort of titles, they actually have nothing to do with one another. I've played Xenoblade for the Wii, the original Xenoblade Chronicles. That game is awesome. It's the best JRPG to come out in the last generation, probably, which is sad.
This is not including handhelds.
This is not including handhelds.
Okay.
Because if you include handhelds, then probably Bravely Default.
Yeah.
I haven't played it yet.
Radiant Historia.
Yeah. Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem. That's strategy.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Xenoblade Chronicles, if you watch the trailer, if you have ever played Xenosaga, your Xenosaga, it's so Xenosaga-y. Like the robot designs, the character designs, the
I remember seeing scenes of Xenoblade Chronicles, and that game seemed much more pastoral.
It's I would compare that game a lot to Monster Hunter. There's a lot of Monster Hunter-y fantasy sort of stuff going on. Because the general plot of Xenoblade has to do with these two enormous titans. One of them is a biological sort of titan, and the other one was a mechanical sort of titan. And they, at the beginning of time, they did battle, they killed each other, and created the world, right? And on one hand, there's the biological world, which our characters all come from and all that sort of stuff. And then there's the mechanical world, which is constantly sieging the biological world. And that's how you have the sort of normal fantasy setting with the crazy Xenosaga robots and stuff. But the first game is on a completely different scale than from what this game seems to be, with its crazy robots fights and
there were so many robots.
They mentioned something in the beginning about the Logos, and like Monolith Soft has a real thing with Gnosticism for some reason. Like you know, that's a big thing in Xenosaga. Take a drink. And it's like one of the. I mean, obviously we don't know anything about this game yet, but like as soon as I saw that, I was like, what are you doing? You gotta stop. What does this have to do with Gnosticism? But anyway, looks cool. It's just a trailer,
cool.
But JRPGs, yay!
It's a real weird experience for me to think about JRPGs, because I feel like I preach them so much, but I don't actually practice them. So I don't know.
Hey, we've put in the work. We've like, you know, like I agree, like granted, like other than #LaserTaser, other than, you know, I play Pokemon pretty consistently. I played a lot of Fire Emblem recently. I've been going back and re-experiencing some RPGs that you know I haven't, like recently I did a playthrough Kingdom Hearts 2.
Okay.
In an attempt to see. Mostly it was an attempt to see how I'd feel about that game after so many years, but it became a sort of experiment of like, does this game really make this little sense? Is it really like this? And like, how could I have enjoyed it as much as I did? And it was like, oh, because the game is fun.
Yeah.
But also, it makes no sense. Like, it's hilarious. But anyway,
JRPGs are fun. Maybe I'll play them again.
Yeah, I'd love to play them again.
Yeah.
If they made one.
If they made them.
Yeah, totally.
That's what I'm saying. I'm very close to considering a 3DS to get Bravely Default.
What is Square Enix doing?
Yeah, why are they so surprised that Bravely Default was a success?
Well, right? I don't know. Final Fantasy VII motorcycle game? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like that's also funny considering it's like they're watching #LaserTaser.
Fix the camera angle, assholes.
So yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles X. I wish there was more we could talk about, but it was really mostly a trailer. Yeah. The X looks exactly like the Xenogears X.
Yeah, it really does.
And that kind of, I would like, you know, like I said, tangentially related, because Monolith Soft were the people behind Xenosaga, which was originally going to be a series that led into Xenogears, but that never happened because of
money.
Things, mostly money.
Yeah.
Now we're at the other big one. This is the U one.
Yeah, this is
Mario Maker. Yes.
So, if anyone does listen to this, I want to make it real clear that about, I think a year ago, I think it was maybe last July or something, there was a young guy who made a web browser Mario game called Full Screen Mario. It faithfully recreated the entire first Mario Brothers. Also came packaged with a level editor that allowed you to create your own custom Mario maps in the style of the original Mario Brothers game.
Huh, that sounds familiar.
And so, apparently it became very popular because it was, I guess, easy to use enough. You know, for a single person project, it was easy enough to use. He also provided the code on GitHub. I believe the code is still available on GitHub. I think you can go and grab it, compile it yourself, and run it if you are so inclined.
Sure.
However, the website, fullscreenmario.com or .net or whatever it was taken down through a cease and desist notice from Nintendo. I don't think anyone can dispute that under the current laws, Nintendo was entirely within their rights to make that cease and desist request.
Sure.
That is how the laws are right now.
That is legal.
That said, a question that Nintendo will never answer, but is ultimately important to deciding my level of outrage to express at them,
right,
is whether or not Mario Maker was developed before or after the success and popularity of Full Screen Mario.
Yeah, I mean, again, I will have to agree with everything that you said. or as far as like whether or not this is something that requires, or what the level of outrage really should be, because again, this is coming into things about ownership and if Nintendo, this is completely possible that Nintendo had begun development on this sort of idea. They became aware of this thing, and they needed to issue the cease and desist because they were making a thing like that was coming out that was going to be available for money, so they couldn't have a free version around.
Yeah,
that is completely possible. However,
the similarities between the UI of full screen Mario and Mario Maker, as it was seen in a demo at E3, are there.
Yes.
They are definitely present.
They exist.
And the idea that you would have a mostly static game, single game, just talking about Mario Brothers, not
right.
talking about later games.
Right.
A static single game that had such an important, profound cultural impact.
Yeah.
And again, leave it static when I would hypothesize that you probably could have made this kind of level editor, certainly on the Wii, maybe on the GameCube.
I think GameCube would have been capable of it.
And it's disappointing that you have such, an adoring legion of fans, and you don't want them to be happy on their own.
Yeah.
Like, they can only be happy if you do things that you've made.
Right.
And this also follows, obviously, into the whole Nintendo YouTube affiliates discussion.
Sure.
Yeah,
no, Nintendo doesn't like it when fans take the things that they own and expand upon it. Nintendo really doesn't like that.
Yeah, so it's a question of, obviously, legal ownership. They own the rights to the Mario character.
Sure.
The nature of derivative works and laws such that anything like full screen Mario is something that they are allowed to say is an infringing work.
Sure.
It's just it's disappointing and upsetting when someone who has the legal rights regarding an important piece of culture comes and says, 25 years after the fact, stop doing this. You can't have the culture that you've had for 25 years.
Yeah, no, it's not allowed.
You're not allowed to have that.
No. Right. Especially considering, like, I wanted to say, think about Super Nintendo had Mario Paint, right? And Mario Paint has its musical part of it.
Yes.
And that is not a simple program. That gives you a pretty decent amount of tools to create music, on the Super Nintendo, a 16-bit console. And so now what we're talking about is a program that allows you to customize and create these custom Mario levels, which you were kind of doing on the Wii with the Super Smash Bros. Brawl customizable stages, which people don't remember being a thing, but it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I also have to question the timing here. Like that's the main thing, is that within the year this happened, and this kind of reminds me of there was a similar thing recently. It's gone from my memory now, so it's not worth.
Is this something like Wizards of the Coast took someone down and then implemented a feature in Magic Gathering Online or something like that?
Or? There's that kind of thing too. The best example I can think of what this reminds me of is back in the day, there was a character called Captain Marvel, right? And he was around at the same time as Superman, and he was doing better than Superman at his introduction, because he had a different sort of concept. He was a child who said a magic word and became a superhero. It kind of a Yu-Gi-Oh sort of thing.
Yeah.
DC sued because the character was a strong man with black short hair, and that was enough. That was enough similarity to allow them to sue for this. I'm talking like 1930, 1940.
Oh yeah, no. I'm sure that's when that yeah.
Well, so anyway, they won the lawsuit and won the rights to the character of Captain Marvel, and he's now a DC character who now goes by Shazam, who is the magic word that allows him to transform from the child into Captain Marvel. Because that's also confusing because there is a Captain Marvel in the Marvel universe. But like I have a hard time because I actually really like that character, but every time I look at him, I'm like, you were stolen out of the hands of your creators by
legal thugs.
Yeah. Same thing happened to Superman, actually. Was ripped from the hands of his original creators by DC. And you know, those two guys don't own the rights to Superman.
Oh yeah, well that's a story, you know, in its own
tale as old as time.
Right.
Yeah.
That where you have publishers and whatnot taking advantage of actual artists by acquiring their legal rights. But that's a long discussion, and we should return to discussing a few things.
We're actually almost done here because the last notable thing, at least insofar as Nintendo, because I want to take, after we talk about this, I want to take a second to talk about some of the other things we didn't talk about, is Splatoon, which is that interesting looking creative color shooter.
Yes.
Not much to say.
Yeah, I mean it's
cool concept.
It's another one of those cool concept. Let's see if they execute.
Yeah, let's see how it executes. Okay, so that's it for all the major press conferences. A couple other things I want to talk about. Guilty Gear Xrd. I don't know where this was. Was this shown at a press conference, or is this?
I thought this was announced. This was announced long before E3.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
This was, I think, one of the major times we got 60 frame per second like gameplay of Guilty Gear Xrd in its American localization. I love Guilty Gear.
Okay.
It's my favorite, probably, anime fighter. It's so stylish and so over the top, and it's rife with musical references. And this game is unbelievably gorgeous. The first time I saw it was a low res video on YouTube, like some 340p thing, and I was like, wow, I'm so happy that it has really gorgeous sprites. And I saw it in 1080p, and I was like, surprise, they ain't sprites. Those are models. Yeah. The most gorgeous models I've ever seen. And it looks crisp. It looks fast. It looks gorgeous. It's like it's probably the next big fighting game. I'm into Ultra. I'm into Street Fighter 4 right now, and I'm practicing some Ultra stuff. I'm getting hyped for that. But the next one I'm looking at is probably Guilty Gear Xrd. Any thoughts? Anything to add?
I've never really been into anime fighters too much. I've heard Guilty Gear certainly has a reputation. I have not played it myself. I don't know if I would be into it. I mean, to me right now, I feel like my interest in a game like Guilty Gear is very contingent on whether I ever actually break into fighting games to begin with. I have also expressed interest in Ultra, so whether or not I really follow through on picking up Ultra, I think will have a very direct effect on my interest in Guilty Gear. Also, is it coming on PC?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Yeah. That's something fighting games need to get on in general, is having PC releases.
Seriously.
Okay, I'm going to continue with the fighting game discussion. Mortal Kombat 10.
Yeah.
That was actually talked about during the Sony press conference, but it wasn't in my notes because it was mixed in with the hardware stuff, so I must have skipped it. We spoke about Mortal Kombat briefly, or I did.
Yes.
I don't like it. I'm not a fan of over-the-top gratuitous violence for the sake of violence. I'm not saying that violence with a purpose is better, but I feel differently about it. And in this game, they appear to be upping the ante as far as the gruesomeness goes. I am impressed with the... when they initially announced this, it was announced with just a cinematic trailer. And I was thinking then, why would anyone announce a fighting game with a cinematic trailer? And then I bit my tongue because they announced Marvel vs. Capcom 3 with a cinematic trailer. But there was also gameplay when they announced it. So, I don't care about Mortal Kombat. It's boring and it looks bad. It has bad, weird design, bad, weird American, thought processes behind it. As far as it has weird history, it has weird, squicky like Sub-Zero's theme song is Chinese Ninja Warrior, which if I need to explain what's wrong with that, you know, you might be a Mortal Kombat fan. I mean, this was way back in the day. I should be fair. This was way back in the day.
But the problem, okay, so we're obviously, some of this is, you know, talking about Mortal Kombat as a whole, Mortal Kombat back in the day.
Sure.
And the problem, there's a thing that when I watch games like Mortal Kombat 9 or Injustice or Mortal Kombat X 10, there's a thing that the models do when they get hit.
Yes, when they're being juggled.
Where they just kind of flop on their back.
On horizontally in the air. Yeah.
That is the most unattractive thing in the universe.
Yeah, there's something about it, like from a gameplay perspective, or even like a spectator perspective, that drives me insane. Like it's very hard to describe, I guess, but like feels wrong and stupid looking.
Yeah, I just feel like every time you get hit, you should be singing "Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream."
Yeah, really.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's very, very bizarre. And you know, violence doesn't do anything for me. I hate that there's a button for blocking.
Well, Soul Calibur does that.
That's a 3D fighter, though. You can't hold back in that game.
Okay.
You know, like if you could hold back, Mortal Kombat is a 2D fighter. Yeah. Now, again, I mean, it briefly dipped its toe into 3D fighters because back when we were moving into 3D, everything had to be 3D suddenly, or you couldn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happened to poor Castlevania. Like.
But I mean, Castlevania never actually successfully made the transition.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is you know, you had Symphony of the Night and no one played it. Really,
Symphony of the Night wasn't well received.
It's not that it wasn't well received. It was that not a lot of people bought it.
Weird.
It's of course nobody disputes the quality of Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
There's no, but not a whole lot of people. It's actually funny enough. Castlevania's entire history is that is being good games that no one bought. You know, like it's really funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mortal Kombat 10. Neither of us really cared.
Nope. Unless that. You can't even make if you can't even make me care as a spectator. There's no way you're gonna make me care more.
Yeah, totally. It doesn't look like they've changed enough things to get me interested gameplay wise. There was a brief period of time where I was kind of interested in Injustice just because I like superheroes and I like crossover fighting games. But it's just Mortal Kombat with DC characters, so I can't. Yeah, exactly.
Just can't.
It's you know, it is entirely a personal preference thing. I am not disparaging Mortal Kombat fans, like or anything like that. I'm not saying that you're dumb for liking Mortal Kombat, but I can't get into it for all the above reasons. All right, I'm gonna do a quick, just to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Do you want to bring up a list? The list up here to see if there's
that huge list.
Yeah, we're professionals here at Hashtag Race Taser, and we're always prepared.
Edit out. I can't even recognize most of these things.
I mean, most of these things weren't shown expressly. Like Assassin's Creed Comet, I have no idea what that is.
What the hell that is? No idea.
Battlecry, I don't know.
BioWare next gen game.
Waka Waka.
Oh, we missed Bloodborne.
Oh, what the fuck?
Bloodborne was the super dark and creepy From Software game guy.
Oh,
it was like the trailer ends with like a dragon appearing behind him.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like another Dark Souls game, I think, but like even less color.
Yeah, God, am I the only one on the face of the earth who does not give a shit about Dark Souls?
I'm never gonna play them.
I don't care.
They look like games that are designed to be unfriendly, so I have no interest in that.
It doesn't look fun. Yeah. It doesn't look like interesting. It looks like, bleh. Like, ugh. Yeah. Anyway,
next Borderlands game,
the pre-sequel. Brandish. Oh, PSP. Yeah, that's why I didn't see that.
The sequel to Alpha.
Oh, Civ. Okay.
The sequel to Alpha Centauri.
Yeah.
It's not Alpha Centauri.
Yeah, really.
This is actually a big problem though, because if there's a science fiction civilization, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna hate my life.
Yeah.
But there's not gonna be a science fiction Total War game.
Right.
So I don't know what's gonna happen.
No, I don't know what you're gonna do. I'm gonna play that game and make Kislev. And send everybody into D Block. Yeah, really.
Crackdown Crew, Dead Island 2 sucks.
Deep Down Destiny. Oh, we didn't talk about Destiny even a
at
little
all.
bit. That's so funny. Okay, all right. We might as well go into it
How
now.
did you not put that in your notes?
Because it's talked about at every press conference, and I was like, whatever. Okay, but Destiny does look kind of cool.
Destiny looks like combining Halo gameplay with the Borderlands quest structure.
Mm-hmm.
That's a super cool idea. I'm sure I will love playing it on PC.
Waka waka. Yeah, same here. Put me down. Yeah.
I still haven't played a Disgaea game.
Disgaea is great.
Apparently they're great. Yeah, I should play this.
If you like strategy RPGs, they're the way to go. Disney, Dragon Age, we talked about. EA.
Evil Within. Is that the Resident Evil 4 one?
No.
That's the Resident Evil guy, I thought. No?
Oh, Evil Within. Wait, you're right. Yeah, that might be the Resident Evil guy.
Whatever. I heard it sucks.
I didn't watch the Evolve we talked about.
No, we didn't talk about Fantasia.
No, we didn't.
Oh,
we didn't talk about Fantasia.
Whatever. I hate you, Disney. Die in a fire.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Oh, is that
when did they talk about Final Fantasy Type 0 HD?
I don't know,
when was that?
No idea.
Ugh. Telltale Games.
A Game of Thrones.
Okay. Wait.
But Telltale's good.
That's what I was going to say. Before we shit on it, because we neither of us like Game of Thrones, I love Wolf Among Us. Wolf Among Us is an excellent Telltale game.
I have not played any Telltale games.
Play Wolf Among Us.
Okay.
Seriously. It is noir. It is fantasy. It is a really, really great storytelling.
Is that on Steam?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Right. I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Yo, biggest announcement in all E3 in
Grand Theft Auto 5 next year.
for PC. What are you doing? No, don't do that.
No, what have you done?
Okay, back. But yeah, PC, put it right there.
Yeah, put it right there.
Most important.
It's very
thing.
important. Grim Fandango we talked about. Halo
Harvest
and
Moon.
Halo and Harvest Moon for the 3DS. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Miku. Let's go run on down.
Yeah.
Oh, Homefront. Why?
How to drain your flagon.
Got him.
Burn.
Hotline Miami. I thought the first Hotline Miami was deeply creepy.
Yeah, it's a really creepy game.
Yeah.
I have to go back and play it.
Hyrule Warriors we talked about.
Inside.
Inside we talked about. Oh yeah, no, we didn't talk about Inside, but whatever.
Inside's gonna be like Limbo. Limbo was good.
Yeah. Okay. Just Dance, whatever. Killer Instinct we talked about.
Kingdom Hearts remix.
Oh, it's 2.5. Okay, so this is the release.
What's the 2.5? Is that the release of 2?
Yeah. Okay, it's 2.5 because there was. I don't know if you remember, but on the PS2 on the PS2 with the Square Enix games, there was the initial release, and then often they had an international release, which was like an extended cut, sort of.
They had that for Final Fantasy X as well.
Yeah, they had that for Final Fantasy X, X-2, Final Fantasy 12. And that's what that's going to be. It's the HD version of the like international version of Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
Kingdom Hearts 3, they showed almost nothing.
Yeah.
Kirby, we talked about.
Oh, you didn't write any notes on that either. That game looked like it sucked.
Let It Die? I didn't even see that.
That was the one. It was a trailer where it was just like people in a prison murdering each other with like weapons.
Oh, it's in my notes and I skipped it. So I was like, fuck this. I don't want to talk about that. Who cares?
Yo, fuck that.
Mario Maker, yeah.
Mario Party 10.
Oh no.
Oh no. Yo.
Oh, see, they have it here as Mass Effect 4.
I was just gonna say I would love to play.
Oh no, wait, there's an asterisk. It might be.
I would love to play Mario Party with like you and Shank and someone else.
That would be brutal.
People would die.
Yeah, there would be.
Oh,
hey.
Okay. So do you know what this is?
No.
Metro Redux they are remastering both 2033 and Last Light and re-releasing them on the consoles, and then also the original 2033 is getting the full HD treatment with some added dungeons and added extras, areas and stuff like that.
That's cool.
So I'm kind of interested in that.
Yeah.
Because Metro is on the very short list of games that I would consider buying new.
Yeah.
That's how much I like Metro.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about Shadow of Mordor. Have I talked to you about Shadow of Mordor?
Which Middle Earth? There's so many Lord of the Rings games, and I feel like all of them suck.
Oh, dude. Okay, so Shadow of Mordor. This is good because this is something we can talk about. This is probably this is not the first game that is going to like most.
Oh, wait a second.
Yeah,
this is the Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Okay.
All right. It is the Assassin's Creed game, but it also is playing fast and loose with the established canon of Lord of the Rings.
Is it actually based on anything?
No.
Okay,
not even a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what's kind of interesting about it, is that it's kind of like War in the North, in that War in the North was slightly based on some things that do in fact happen, and there are real characters that are in the appendices and in the Silmarillion and in Hurin, the Children of Hurin, and all that sort of stuff. Shadow of Mordor is like a sort of like it's been long enough. The movies have come out. People don't care anymore. Let's go nuts and just sort of make the most insane. Like, the character you play as is a guy who Sauron stopped at his house to murder his family, I guess. He's a ranger. And he for some reason Sauron cursed him to become a wraith, and he joins along with this other wraith. And now he's in Mordor trying to kill the orcs who killed his family. And the big thing people are talking about with Shadow of Mordor is the Nemesis system, which is where...
Stars.
Yeah. What happens is you form relationships, adversarial relationships with the orcs and uruks in the game. And it'll come back, but depending on what... Like, for example, if you come across an orc early on in the game and you throw him into a fire, but he gets away... He will maintain that burn and his hatred of you for burning him, and he will come back later and be like, "Oh, you burned the shit out of me. Now I'm gonna gut you." Like, and that's like the main one of the. I mean, because mostly it's like you said, Assassin's Creed, Lord of the Rings. But I'm keeping my eye on it, especially since it's coming out for PC.
Okay.
Like, it looks like a thing. Monster Hunter. Bleh.
Yeah, I just got the original Mirror's Edge on PC.
I'm interested in Mirror's Edge too.
I've seen that played. Like, originally I was like, this is never gonna work, but I've seen it played. Looks cute.
Yeah,
looks
cute.
So I'm curious. We talked about a lot of these sports, Resident Evil 4.
Oh, Persona 5. I didn't know about 5. That.
You know, that's a game I briefly tried playing the remake of Persona 1. And then apparently I branched into a super hard side quest that was only included in the remake.
Yes.
And lost my desire to continue playing the game.
Yeah.
But I've heard that the franchise's modern day popularity is really established with 3 and 4, which are of a whole different nature than 1 and 2.
Yes. Persona 3... I can't speak for Persona 4, because I didn't play Persona 4. Persona 3 was the last JRPG I played on the PlayStation 2, and maybe the most excellent.
Okay. I've seen people playing 4 on... There is a
proviso. There is an asterisk.
Oh, okay.
Though. You need patience for Japanese shit.
Yeah.
And that goes without saying with JRPGs generally, but this is, it takes place in contemporary Japan.
Yeah.
So there's lots of anime shit.
Yeah. I've been watching. There's a internet LP personality, Kaz, who I like to watch occasionally, and he has been playing through Persona 4, and it definitely seems to have a very heavy. There are long narrative sequences, and at the same time there are long dungeon crawling sequences, which seem like they occasionally verge on the tedious.
Yes, they do.
But it still seems like a very quality product.
Oh, for a second I got really excited and I was like, Puzzle Fighter, and it's not.
Nah.
I don't know what Quantum Break
I don't know what
is.
Quantum Break is. I have no idea.
Ratchet and Clank Remastered.
That's real
fine.
fishing.
I get it. Rise of Tomb Raider we talked about. I don't know what Senran Kagura Bon Appetit is.
No idea what these things are. Shin Megami Tensei. Oh, what?
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. I didn't know that they talked about that at all. They're making a crossover strategy RPG with Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem.
That's ridiculous.
And I can't imagine a game that is more likely to cause actual deaths.
Right? Like, you're literally crossing the two most tedious, arduous, rage-inducing franchises in gaming history.
Like, that's up there. Like short of, I don't know. Do you remember Lufia for the Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
Lufia 2? Like, that's the sort of thing I think of.
Outside of the ancient cave glitching on the 100th level.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or I mean, for me, this could only be better if instead of Shin Megami Tensei cross Fire Emblem, it was Tactics Ogre cross Fire Emblem. That is the only way it could really be better.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
Just bring back Tactics Ogre. That's another thing. Squeenix bought that IP and just put it away.
Yeah, and just did nothing with it.
Thanks.
And just thanks. Sims.
Oh, Battlefront occurred during a thing.
Oh yeah, Battlefront. That's kind of nice.
Yeah,
I guess.
Cool. Yeah.
Star Fox Wii U we didn't talk about, but there wasn't anything to show.
No, there really wasn't anything to show.
Smash Brothers we talked about.
Yo, can we talk about Robot Chicken during the Nintendo thing?
Yeah, that was
weird.
That
right?
was weird. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I like Robot Chicken.
Yeah,
but...
it was okay. Like, you know, it was Nintendo, so they weren't allowed to do Robot Chicken, but
yeah, but they were like kind of winking it. It was almost like when they were talking about the Wii's ability to upload things to YouTube. And they briefly did a Luigi death stare.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, no, they've gone on record of acknowledging the Luigi death stare as hilarious.
They see me riding.
Why is Ultra Street Fighter on this list?
I don't know, man. It's coming out soon. Oh, Uncharted 4. That's the end of the Sony conference.
Oh yeah, I didn't write that down because whatever.
Uncharted 2, great game. I watched Uncharted 3.
Sure, why not?
And
the YouTube version.
It seemed okay. I mean, like, to me, the Uncharted series is the most pure expression of Indiana Jones the game that will probably ever exist.
Yeah, totally. And it's worthwhile for that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a 40K game?
I don't know what this is. Is this the MMO?
Probably. Good luck, have fun.
Totally. Witcher 3, World of Tanks. Okay, yeah, well, that's it. We've covered the base. Yeah. So, that's E3. A lot of exciting things, specifically from Nintendo. A lot of things that we don't have any particular feelings about. But overall, this was a pretty good year, I would say.
Yeah. I think it was a good year because they stopped talking about consoles and started talking about games.
Yeah, I mean we're lucky because we're just on the outset of a new generation, and so we don't have to worry about the next generation for a little while.
Yeah,
hopefully at least 5 years. Probably not though. Like I don't know. Either way, decent things all around. Not what I was hoping for. I was really hoping for Pokken to be a real thing. Have you heard about the Pokken fighter? There was a thing going around about a trademark that Nintendo had registered called Pokken, and recently they were known to be talking with Namco. Nintendo and Namco are working together a lot recently because of Smash Brothers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And people thought it was going to be Pokemon Tekken.
Okay.
With Pokemon for characters as opposed to Tekken characters, because as everyone knows, no one gives a shit about Tekken.
No one cares about Tekken.
So, I was hoping to hear something from that because I would love a Pokemon fighting game.
Sure.
That'd be
yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
What about you? Was there anything that sticks out that you want to mention briefly before we sign out?
We didn't hear anything more about Final Fantasy 15. There was some game called The Last Guardian everyone was apparently waiting to hear about.
Oh yeah, and
you know, and in general, obviously, a lot of the games I play were sort of left out here because we didn't hear. Obviously, Valve does not participate in this. No. Some of the other publishers who publish games that I like, Sega, etc., don't really get involved in this. You know, so. And again, a lot of other Squeenix stuff. We didn't hear any more about other Deus Ex games.
No.
Really. But I mean, again, there's a lot of exciting stuff. I hope a lot of this stuff makes its way to PC. It's where I'm most likely to play it.
Yeah.
And
do you think we're more likely to hear things out of Square Enix at like TGS or something like that?
I think it's I mean, bear in mind, several days after E3, in a Japanese magazine, they announced Final Fantasy Explorers.
Right.
So I think I'm hoping that their recent successes and failures will be wake-up calls, that they'll make more cool games and abandon the direction they were going with some of their franchises.
Well, they seem. I mean, obviously, this is a different conversation. But
Yeah.
they seem to be aware now of what went wrong in the PS2 and the PS3 era of JRPGs. Like, they seem to know why Final Fantasy died the way or not died, but why it's in recession right now. Like, they seem to know that there is way too much emphasis on graphical quality as opposed to
gameplay and narrative quality, specifically narrative quality.
Right.
I think is the thing to
Yeah,
be emphasized. If they had to ask me, I would say you forgot to make your stories good. You know, like, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. It kind of matters what it sounds like, but you know, it's not like Nobu would say no. Like he's a wacky, crazy guy, and he would be interested in at least like being involved.
Sure.
And everything he touches turns to gold.
It's
so,
true. Yeah, I think that's about it. Wraps up our discussion of various E3 things, and hopefully you enjoyed the series of podcasts.
Yeah. So this is the Pokedex.
And this is the Perfectly Ordinary Doc. And we will sign off as soon as I can find the stop recording button.
Yeah, I don't know how we do that.
I don't know how this works, man.
I don't know how anything works.